Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit here about Star Wars 7 The Force Awakens. There will be major spoilers in this discussion. So you've been warned right now. If you haven't seen Star Wars The Force Awakens, do not watch this until after you've seen the movie. So, look, just online today, I've been seeing a lot of posts that are talking about the new Star Wars movie, The Force Awakens, and especially about the character of Rey, and the phrase Mary Sue has been thrown around a lot. Now, I understand why people have the opinion that Rey is a Mary Sue, a character who is good at everything, but let me just point out why I strongly disagree with that based on the facts of the movie. Now, there is no doubt that in The Force Awakens, Rey is an awesome character, and credit to all of the guys who wrote and directed and made the movie on the bait and switch. Everything was set up to make us think that this was going to be Finn, and by halfway through the movie, you realise, oh my gosh, it's Rey. Rey is actually the amazing character. All the characters are amazing, but she is the one who's going to be doing the truly amazing, unbelievable things that are usually associated with characters like Luke Skywalker. But she's not a Mary Sue. So let's look at the things that she does. Okay, she beats up a couple of thugs. Well, you know, that's not actually so impressive. Admittedly, Luke got dumped on his ass the first time he got into a fight in Cantina, but these are like street level thugs. So that in itself is not an indication of a Mary Sue. But then, you know, she starts doing some pretty amazing stuff. For example, she starts piloting the Millennium Falcon, which is great, but you know, when she first gets into the ship, she is smashing that thing all over the shop. You know, she grounds it, she smashes it into the gate and completely demolishes that. She is clearly, you know, learning as she goes. Now, admittedly, she does manage to fly the Millennium Falcon with some amazing stunts, does some fantastic things. Kudos to her. But she doesn't do it all on her own. Without Finn there helping her, she would be dead. You know, Finn is the one who actually has to get into the gun turret and fire at the TIE fighters. Without Finn's help, the TIE fighters clearly would have shot her down. You know, now if she were flying the ship and firing the guns by remote control, that would be a different thing. But that is by no means the case. Right, she shows some deft mechanical engineering, fair enough. You know, Finn is obviously completely out of his element because he doesn't know anything about that sort of stuff because he's only been trained as a stormtrooper. He's been trained how to use a blaster, and that's pretty much it. On Han Solo's ship, once she meets Han Solo and Chewbacca crawling around, she comes up with the plan of closing the doors. She opens the wrong doors and lets the monsters out, which puts everybody in danger. How then is that a Mary Sue? She does, you know, pretty much completely the opposite of what she wanted to do. It turns out well for them, you know, but it's clearly not what she intended to have happen. Then she gets to the planet where she finds Luke Skywalker's lightsaber, which calls to her. She has a Force vision. She runs from it. She doesn't embrace the Force vision. She's terrified. And then she runs straight into the arms of the First Order and Kylo Ren. Now, the moment where she meets Kylo Ren, she looks like she is going to shit herself. She is that scared. He easily overpowers her. Mind you, before that, we have a wonderful moment, a truly wonderful moment in a Star Wars movie where she uses her blaster for the first time and shoots a stormtrooper. And there is a split second of awareness. This was such a great moment. A split second of awareness where you see on her face that she realises, I just killed a person. And that is great. I mean, we have never had that in a Star Wars movie. When Luke and Leia were on the Death Star, he shoots stormtroopers. There's no indication that he's ever taken a human life before. He shoots them and doesn't even think twice about it. Now, Rey shoots them, has that moment, and then, of course, has to move on because she is in mortal danger. But at least we got that split second of thinking about the consequences of what she has done. Love that. So, gets taken to the First Order and is interrogated by Kylo Ren, who fails to break her. And some people are saying, you know, look, this is very much like Princess Leia, who is a strong female character, but that Princess Leia is the only way a character should be a strong female character. A strong female character should not be physically strong. Well, you can see the Wonder Woman stuff behind me, so I think you've got a pretty good idea of what my opinions are on that. Sure, Leia is a strong female character, but she isn't the only way a character who is female can be strong. Why shouldn't Rey be kick-ass? She's a good fighter. She doesn't exactly overpower Kylo with the Force. I mean, she obviously gets some stuff out of his mind and he fails to break her. And she manages to use the Force, having some sort of jump start from her mind meld with him. She uses the Force to get out of the interrogation chamber and then finds her way around the planet. But then we get to the point where she has her face down at the end of the movie with Kylo Ren. Now, again, without Finn there, she would have lost. In the opening seconds of the fight, Kylo easily dispatches her with the Force, picks her up, slams her against a tree. She is unconscious. If Finn wasn't there to help her, she would have been killed or captured right then and there. So how is this a Mary Sue? Kylo is wounded. Once Finn has wounded him again with a lucky strike to the arm, and he is even more weakened, then she finally manages to overpower him using the Force, but she cannot have done that all on her own. And then at the end of the movie, does she find the way to Luke Skywalker? No. That is provided by R2-D2 and the map that they had gathered earlier in the movie. So in short, look, the facts support the idea that Rey is an amazing character, right, and who can do amazing things. But she is by no means a Mary Sue, and to say that, I think, does a disservice to the character and a disservice to the movie. So, finally, let's go back right to the first movie, Luke Skywalker. Like I said earlier, got dumped on his ass in the cantina, but he does a lot of amazing things in that movie. He outshoots Imperial stormtroopers, the first time he's ever used a blaster to shoot at anything except rodents. He climbs into a quad turbo laser cannon turret and manages to shoot down 2 TIE fighter pilots, doing as well as Han Solo, who you'd have to say has obviously used those guns before. And finally, with zero experience as a combat pilot, he's basically driven around and been shooting at womp rats with his blaster, climbs into the cockpit of a high-tech fighter jet, flies up, gets involved in the Death Star battle, is doing better against trained TIE pilots. You'd have to think that the TIE fighter pilots on the Death Star would be elite level. Does better than guys who've obviously got more combat experience than him. Does so well, in fact, that he is promoted to strike leader for his wings run on the Death Star over far more senior pilots, and then, of course, manages to nail the shot that blows up the battle station. So he does all of this stuff. Nobody calls Luke a Mary Sue. So you really have to look at what the people are saying about Rey and think, well, if this was a guy, would anybody have a problem with it?